The wind whipped through the overgrown fields of Harlan County as 12-year-old Emily Wilson stood at the edge of a forgotten world. The paper in her trembling hands, creased, smudged, and official, was a letter that didn't just bring news. It brought belonging. For a foster kid who'd spent half her life moving from house to house, this letter was a lifeline to something real. 15 acres of abandoned farmland, once owned by relatives she never knew existed. As the dying sun lit the horizon on fire, she stared at the silhouette of a weather-beaten barn that stood against the sky like an old guardian refusing to die. Behind her lay a childhood of disappointment. Ahead, something she couldn't name yet, mystery, maybe even danger. That night, while her foster parents argued over bills, Emily tucked the letter beneath her mattress and whispered to herself, "They won't even notice if I'm gone." And she was right, because 3 days later, with a single backpack and the help of her elderly neighbor, Mrs. Warren, Emily left that life behind. The Buick groaned down mountain roads toward Harlan County, and for the first time since her parents' accident 5 years earlier, Emily felt something she hadn't in a long time: hope, fragile but alive. When the Buick stopped, the world felt frozen in time. The Wilson property stretched wide and wild, grass waist-high, fences swallowed by ivy. The farmhouse slouched in silence. Mrs. Warren pressed a flashlight into Emily's palm and said, "3 days, sweetheart. Then I come back." As the old car disappeared down the dirt road, Emily whispered into the emptiness, "This is mine." But the silence didn't answer back. The house was locked, its windows boarded, its doors sealed. She circled the property until she found a shattered bathroom window just big enough to slip through. Inside smelled of dust and forgotten years. Beneath faded sheets and yellowed curtains lay echoes of another life. Photographs turned face down, furniture left mid-conversation. That night, she unrolled her sleeping bag on the porch. No shouting, no TVs, only crickets and wind. Then sometime after midnight came the sound, a metallic scrape from the direction of the barn. Slow, deliberate, like metal dragged against wood. She froze. Then a thud. Someone or something was out there. But when dawn broke, the yard was empty except for dew and the faint prints of boots leading toward the barn. Emily's heart hammered as she pushed open the barn's rusted side door. Dust swirled like ghosts in the sunlight. The air was thick with the smell of hay and iron. Then she saw it, an old walking stick carved with mountains and leaves, initials burned into the wood, D.W. Daniel Wilson, her great-grandfather's. As she explored further, her foot hit something, a trap door hidden under layers of hay. It had an intricate brass lock, unlike any she'd ever seen, with gears and tumblers gleaming beneath dust. The key she'd found in a birdhouse nearby didn't fit. But before she could search further, a voice rasped behind her, "You're trespassing, girl." Emily spun around to see an old man framed in sunlight, tall, thin, and watchful. His name was Thomas Hayes, the neighbor who'd been watching over this land for 30 years. When Emily said her name, his suspicion melted into shock. "Wilson's kin," he whispered. "Well, I'll be damned. After all this time." He told her stories about Daniel and Elizabeth Wilson, the couple who'd vanished overnight in 1987, about the rumors that Daniel had been hiding something people still whispered about. And when Mr. Hayes glanced toward the trap door, he added, "Whatever's buried under this barn, some folks have been looking for it a long time." That night, the sound returned. Footsteps on gravel, a beam of light cutting through the cracks of the barn door. Emily crept to the window, watching as a man in a city suit worked the lock on the trap door. He cursed softly when it wouldn't budge, then fled into the darkness, leaving only tire tracks and a scrap of paper. Ashworth Antiquities. The next morning, Emily pried at the trapdoor's edge and found pages hidden inside, journal entries written in delicate, fading ink. Her great-grandmother, Elizabeth, had written them. Daniel works through the night, consumed by his commission. He says it must be protected. 2 keys required, used in sequence. In the margin of one page, a phrase caught Emily's eye. Blood will find blood. A chill ran through her. Somewhere in this house was the 2nd key. Hours later, in a dusty upstairs bedroom, she found it, a hidden music box carved with mountains. When its melody played, a secret panel slid open, revealing a small, ornate key. And a photograph. Her grandmother, her mother as a baby, her bloodline. The 2nd key glinted in her palm as she whispered, "I'm coming, great-grandpa." The 2 keys turned the trap door like magic. One, then the other, timed to the rhythm of the music box's haunting tune. With a hiss of ancient gears, the door rose, revealing stairs descending into darkness. Emily hesitated, then whispered the words from the journal. Family didn't build traps for family. Step by step, she entered her great-grandfather's world. The underground tunnel opened into a workshop frozen in time. Tools neatly hung, notebooks stacked, lamps still waiting to be lit. And on a central table lay a puzzle box, a wooden chest inlaid with platinum and gold. The initials DW shimmered faintly under dust. Mr. Hayes, lantern in hand, joined her, his eyes wide with reverence. Inside the box, they found documents, letters in both English and Russian, and a name that made Mr. Hayes whisper, "Lord help us." It was a certificate of provenance for an Imperial Fabergé Egg. Daniel Wilson, it turned out, had been commissioned to restore one of Russia's lost imperial treasures, the Imperial Swan Egg. He had hidden it here to protect it from men who would kill to possess it. And those men, Emily realized, were back. By the time the man in the suit returned, it was too late. Emily and Mr. Hayes had already unearthed the Fabergé egg, an oval of sapphire enamel and diamonds resting on blue velvet, its tiny swan gliding on crystal water. But danger found them fast. The intruder, Lambert, worked for Victor Ashworth, an antiquities dealer claiming the egg belonged to his family. He arrived with police, lawyers, and lies, accusing Emily of theft. Yet when State Department agents verified her great-grandfather's documents, the truth prevailed. The egg was legally hers. Still, the battle wasn't over. Ashworth's greed ran deep, his resources endless. He sent men to break in again, but this time Emily was ready. With video proof, a legal team, and the kind of courage her ancestors had built into the wood of this house. When the court finally ruled, the judge's words echoed through history. The Imperial Swan Egg and all associated property belonged to Emily Wilson, rightful heir. The same wind that once carried the scent of abandonment now whispered something new: victory. Months passed, but the story didn't fade. The media called her the girl who found the lost Fabergé egg. Museums offered millions. Collectors begged for ownership. But Emily remembered her great-grandfather's letter. Legacy is measured not in possessions, but in character. So she made a choice. The Imperial Swan Egg would go on display, not for profit, but for purpose. The Smithsonian partnered with her to create an exhibition on immigrant craftsmanship, telling the story of Daniel Wilson, the mountain carpenter who restored a piece of royal history, and the 12-year-old girl who found it. The proceeds funded something greater, the Daniel Wilson School of Craftsmanship. In the restored barn where mystery once lived, children now learn to carve, to build, to create. The place that hid secrets now made beauty. And in the evenings, when the last light faded, Emily often sat on the porch with Mrs. Warren and Mr. Hayes, the walking stick beside her, the initials DW catching the glow of twilight. Years later, the mountains bloomed again, fields of color where weeds once stood. The town of Millfield thrived with new life, drawn by the legend of the barn egg. Tourists came to see the museum. Locals came to learn the craft. In her great-grandmother's journal, Emily had once read that blood will find blood. She finally understood. It wasn't about inheritance or wealth. It was about connection, about family rediscovered through courage. The Imperial swan egg had brought the world to her doorstep, but what it truly gave her was belonging. As she stood on that same ridge where it all began, she looked toward the farmhouse, its windows warm, its fields alive, and whispered, "Thank you." Then, turning to the camera of her future, her voice steady and full of quiet awe, she said, "Sometimes the treasure isn't what you find. It's who you become. And if this story moved you, if it reminded you that legacy lives in the smallest acts of courage, go ahead and hit that like button. Share this story so more people know that even the lost can be found again. Subscribe because the next story might just be the one that finds you.